My name is Peter Hollingsworth. I've been involved in meteorological application in just weather in industry and in climatology into industry as well for the best part of 40 years. I joined the UK Met Office in 1983 and then set up the National Met Service of New Zealand's commercial division in Europe in 2000. Moved to New Zealand in 2008 to join Met Service down there, and returned to the UK in 2020, 2 days before the first lockdown. So interesting timing on my part. So my background is very much in meteorology and in applying meteorological applications and climatological applications into industrial purpose, basically. I think the transition of power to encompass the green economy is happening globally. Some regions, of course, in the world are moving at a different pace, and that's because they can in some areas. In some areas, they simply can't. They still need to grow their energy to meet the demand. Whereas in some regions we can actually, or some regions can actually afford to actually move to a greener power economy much quicker. And certainly Northern Europe is very much in that space and is moving very rapidly in that space, which we're seeing with the integration of wind energy is growing rapidly. It grew very quickly in the early noughties, the early 2000s, then sort of slowed down a bit, but it's very clearly picking up a pace now. Solar similarly is moving at a pace and moving forward very quickly, and still very small in terms of growth. But in terms of actual size of growth, that is changing and moving forward. The hydrogen economy is also very much becoming part of the agenda now. It's not there yet, but it's definitely moving in the right direction. There's no question about that. Storage, we're seeing more people looking at storage from various different sources. Obviously, the natural thing to think of when you think about storage is think about batteries. Domestic level batteries now are getting better. They're certainly getting a lot cheaper. When they first came out a few years ago, they were quite expensive. Only aspirational people wanting to be green aspirationally could really realistically afford them. They're now coming into to make economic sense. On an industrial scale, we're seeing battery technology really growing and improving and increasing on a global scale. And people think about storage in different ways. So thinking about how we can actually use surplus energy to, for example, create pump storage hydro systems, where we can actually pump water up a hill and use that energy later. Obviously, you pump the water up the hill when the energy demand is very low and you've got surplus. Similarly, with the hydrogen economy, when you've got lots and lots of wind and you don't have the demand for that wind, for example, the Shetland Isles is a really good example of how to create a hydrogen economy, albeit on a small scale, because it's an island group effectively. But using that surplus energy to produce hydrogen, which you then can store and then use in the future. Energy demand will increase according to the growth of the economy of the countries where it's at. So, typically, we're not seeing massive growth in Northern Europe, for example. We're not seeing massive growth in energy demand, generally speaking, but we're seeing that energy demand shifting in terms of its time. So, typically, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you saw these huge peaks in wintertime when obviously you had People working very traditional lifestyles and obviously have cold winters, hot summer, warm summers in northern Europe and Central Europe and even Southern Europe indeed. And we're seeing that starting to transition now because of climate change and a whole lot of other factors, both environmental and human factors. We're seeing that's slightly shifting. So the winter demand, for example, is going down a little bit. It's going down a little bit, but the spring summer demand is going up quite a bit as well as we get hotter summers and the air conditioning load becomes far more required and expected. We nowadays expect a shopping mall, for example, to have air conditioning and to be cool in the summertime. We expect it to be warm in the wintertime, of course. But that's moving. So the demand is pretty stable across the entire year, but it's shifting in terms of when it's required. Over time, we're not seeing an explosion in terms of change. We're seeing rapid change. There's no question about it. But there's more adaptation to the needs of the demand centers. Demand centers are where people live and where industrial processes take place. So transmission companies are becoming much more, transmission and distribution companies are becoming much more aware of it. We're seeing changes in the way that the industry is working. We're seeing more interconnection between countries, and that will grow and that will continue to grow as we have the ability to share power throughout regions and large regions. So for example, Germany now is very well connected with all of the countries completely around it. France and the United Kingdom are very well connected. Ireland and the United Kingdom are now well connected. Holland is now connected both across the North Sea to the UK and through Belgium, through France, through Germany. As well. And Scandinavia, of course, has always been very capable of sharing power amongst itself. But that's going to grow. That's going to grow because it makes sense to actually, if we're going to build generation portfolios in places, if we can actually generate power and then transmit it over long distances to other places. Yes, there is loss on that transmission circuit. But if you can actually have large amounts of generation in one place and actually be able to shift it to another place where the power generation is needed, that makes an awful lot of sense. So the transmission distribution industry is adapting to the circumstances more than changing per se. It still does the same thing. It still transmits electrons along a piece of wire. In my personal opinion, it's slow, and that's something which I think is needed to be looked at. There needs to be more thinking about how we can innovate more quickly in these environments. The industry has been traditionally a very heavily regulated industry. It needs to be, because there's an awful lot of safety that needs to come into play. I mean, a 400 kV line, for example, really does need to be very robust in its ability to transmit power, but also in its ability to actually keep that power line supported. So it is very expensive to build new infrastructure and change infrastructure, but at the same time, I think the regulators have not really been thinking particularly about climate change, in my view, and taking future climate change into consideration. I'll give you one very simple example of that. For example, here in the UK, the industry has been using an ice map to design and build power lines. Which was actually drawn in 1983, which is the year I actually joined the United Kingdom Met Office. And as you can probably tell by the colour of my hair, 1983 was a little while ago now. So 40 years of change, and climate change is happening, has been happening. Well, it's always been happening, but it's happening more rapidly. The regulators are trying really, really hard to actually to obviously keep the lights on, which is what they're fundamentally there to do, and to keep the lights on safely. The speed of the progress and the speed of adaptation on their part is somewhat slow. And I mean, having a regulatory period, of course, which they've now built in, which is a 5-year regulatory period, where you actually define what you're going to be doing for the next 5 years in that regulatory period. Things like climate change are happening rapidly. The energy net, the power generation systems are changing more rapidly, and to me it seems that actually having a regulatory period which is kind of fixed at a 5-year period is a little bit of a long period. I understand why they need to have it, but a degree of flexibility would be really useful to be built into that and built into those processes. And it's an industry-wide concern. That's obviously their main concern is production and safety. We totally appreciate that. But that's the industry. The regulators are not moving as fast as the innovators. I think traditionally the industry has followed very, very traditional methods for very good reasons. We are now starting to see quite a lot of changes happening within the industry, and the industry is actually becoming more readily accepting of change in certain environments. So, for example, the way of checking lines traditionally used to be basically a couple of people in a car driving along a road, or even going off road and going across countrysides and actually physically checking the lines by either looking at them very closely or actually literally physically climbing pylons and looking at the lines physically to see what's going on. Now we're seeing drones coming into play, and we're seeing that's happening more and more in the industry. We're also seeing equipment being put onto lines, which is actually looking at the lines and checking the lines and testing the lines and making sure everything is okay. We're seeing AI coming into play, where you can actually use technology, scientific technology, to actually apply processes to things like lines, and actually be able to use that information to give you information which tells you where lines are likely to be wearing more than other areas, or where a line might be at risk. So that AI is coming into play.